I've used a lot of different microphones when it comes to creating content, from that shotgun mic there, a Bluetooth wireless lavalier, and my personal favorite when I'm streaming and recording, the HyperX Quadcast. In fact, I've liked this mic so much I've bought it 2 times for 2 different setups. So when I was given the opportunity to look at the NJSJ ME6S gaming microphone, I decided, why not? Let's take a look. And I'll talk about some of the features I look for when it comes to a microphone, such as different microphone settings, being able to mute and unmute the microphone just with the tap, and also the overall flexibility of the arm included. A must-have setting for me as well is the ability to turn up and down the gain on the microphone in real time while I'm using it. Now currently I'm just using the microphone on my phone, but let's go ahead and open up this box and take a look at what's inside. Now my initial thoughts are that's a pretty robust packaging for everything that's included. It's nice to see it in a bunch of styrofoam there, so you know it's at least well packed, and oh, a nice little thank you. Further unboxing, you got to take a look at the instructions for the user manual because that's always important. You've got your mouth guard there, the little pop filter that's included. Further digging will go ahead and reveal the actual microphone itself. The initial thought is it is pretty light, not gonna lie. The Quadcast in comparison is definitely heavier, but it doesn't feel like it's like cheaply made or anything like that. It definitely just feels light. And lastly included, of course, is the boom arm and the pieces needed to put that together. I was happy to see it was at least included at the price. Now, I have experience with this boom arm. This will be my 3rd time using one like this. I was wondering if it was going to be the same, and I mean, yeah, it's basically identical to the one that my Quadcast is already on. It's a fine boom arm. It's enough to get started. I wouldn't say it's one of the best ones. I've been looking for a better replacement, especially considering the bottom of mine is completely thrashed and needs to be tightened pretty well for it to stay in place these days. But to get started with, it's not the worst looking. Maybe they've even made improvements on it. Now, for folks who haven't used a boom arm before, it's pretty simple. You generally just plug it into a little C-clamp like this one here. You screw it to the table and tighten up the little knob there to make sure you have it in position where you like it. Now we need to attach the actual microphone to the arm, and yeah, it wasn't too bad. I just had to keep going until eventually you get some resistance, and then you know that you've got it on pretty much as far as it needs to go. Now, one thing I noticed with this one in particular is that it was very loose where it meets the arm there. Kind of swung around pretty easily on its own. You can tighten it up towards the actual boom arm, and eventually it should keep it in one static position. Now, another point that really jumped out at me was that I was able to use USB-C when I was using this microphone. Most phones these days are no longer coming with the 3.5mm jack, especially ones with the nicer cameras, so being able to use USB was going to be a big perk. Now, you plug it into the back here, and I noticed it's kind of an awkward position for it. It's rubbing right up against the actual boom arm section there, and I don't know, I just feel like that could be a problem in the future. Something else I noticed too is it does not look like you can remove this from like the shock ring that's installed on it. It looks like the bands are installed through the actual microphone itself, and that's something that I found to be pretty convenient on the HyperX, is that I can switch this out if I need to. The mount is actually not on the microphone itself. I just have to loop it onto the loops that are built into the mic. I've done this once already because I bought this mic secondhand and it didn't come with the shock absorber, so I was just able to buy a cheap replacement one. It is plugged in, and we're going to see how this sounds in comparison to the microphone that is just on my phone standard. Here is my native microphone on my Galaxy S22 Ultra. I am not using the current microphone here. It is not plugged in. Obviously, it's not turned on. And this is what the microphone sounds like when it's about a foot away from my mouth talking into the phone microphone. Here I am using that little wireless Bluetooth one for comparison's sake, so you can hear what that sounds like for a bit cheaper, to be completely honest. These are usually about $10, so take that for a comparison's sake. I'm also going to adjust the dial here to see how much it adjusts the volume while I'm speaking, so I'm just going to kind of keep talking here to test out the volume knob and see if it's just pure gain or if it turns it off all the way. Now I'm going to take it all the way. And now we're going to start coming back up towards the top for max volume. I did start at the max and we'll finish at the max. And yeah, there you go. That's the test to see how the volume works on this. Now, can we also mute it with one tap? And now we've turned it back on. I did hear a little bit of like a tap or a click when I did the mute. Maybe it's just because I'm touching it too aggressively. I'm going to touch it as soft. And if that made any difference, I turn this down to, I'm going to guess, about 75%. One of the problems that I've noticed is that the dial down here does not have any kind of indicator that I can see when I'm just looking at it. It's actually on the bottom, so maybe you put some dots on here to let you know where you're at as far as 75, 50, 25, and 0 when you're adjusting that knob. Regardless, though, one thing I wanted to test as well compared to the Quadcast is the sensitivity of the microphone in all directions. So I'm snapping behind it by about a foot, snapping right where my voice is, obviously. 1 foot to the right, and then about 1 foot to the left. Another thing I like to do is I like to live stream CRT games like on the TV behind me here, and I make sure that I'm using the speakers. I don't like to wear headphones for it. I've got a nice little audio system up there. So I have Star Wars on a CRT that you can't see off screen. That is about a foot and a half, 2 feet away from where the microphone is currently at. And I want to see how it sounds while I'm talking to you now and if it's picking up any of the audio from the TV behind. So I turned the volume just to about good enough for me to hear and comfortable enough for me to stream, and if it's picking up any of the audio while I'm talking and if it's interfering with it. Initial thoughts are that this is clearly an upgrade over the microphone that's on my phone itself. Now, this is just using it for about half an hour, testing it here and there, seeing how it compares to my Quadcast, which I think is a better quality microphone overall, but those go for about $80 to $90 on sale. You can find them sometimes for about $50 to $60 used, depending on the condition that they're going to be in as well. I am going to be using this mic exclusively tonight when I stream on Twitch. If you want to check it out, same name there, but I'll be on from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. and we'll be using this mic the entire time to see how it performs as well when you're going to be streaming on a platform like Twitch. I think this is a good option, especially for making content like this for videos. I love the idea of having a better mic that I can use while I'm doing my pickup videos and some of my detailing videos with just my phone instead of having to go to the computer and use that microphone. So pretty solid from what I'm guessing here. I like the features, especially. The best features for me, especially for live streaming, are going to be the live muting. I said that's great, as well as just being able to adjust your volume on the fly here. There's a few things I'd like to change already about it, specifically being making sure there's an indicator there to see where your volume is. But overall, the initial impressions are it's a pretty solid little microphone, and it's definitely got some features that I think most microphones should have for streamers. Let me know what you think. Cheers.